want to welcome you to a new season of the CEO Breakfast and Strategy Series, co-hosted by the Schneider School of Business and Economics at St. Norbert College. I'm Brian Buechse, the president of the college. It's my great privilege to welcome you here. Now in its 21st year, the CEO Breakfast Series provides area executives with the opportunity to hear from some of our top CEOs. This resource is being brought to you through the generosity of our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor, WPS Health Solutions. Title sponsors are Myron Construction, Johnson Bank and Johnson Insurance, and Insight Publications. The sponsor for this session is Verhalen Commercial Interiors. Can we give our sponsors a round of applause, please? At your table, you'll see the folders. We encourage you to take that sponsor information and absorb it. I'd like to, before I offer a prayer to get us started, I'd like to observe that we're gathered here today without one of the great Northeast Wisconsin icons, Harry Meyer. We lost Harry last spring, and it's hard to imagine a CEO Breakfast Series without Harry. He is such a wonderful friend to so many people, and he had such an impact over 2 decades, helping this series become the series that it is. And so I thought it was appropriate that we'd recognize him as we begin our 21st year of service of this series. So if you could please keep Harry and his family in your mind throughout the day and the weeks to come, we'd appreciate it. And so we're going to, please, if you join me in the blessing of the meal together, might we pray together in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we're about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord, amen. Bon appetit. We'll be back in about a half hour. We are in for a treat today. I was over there talking with Oliver and our table, and I got lost. It was such an animated. I almost lost track of what time it is. I looked down. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta get up. We're in for a real treat today. It's my privilege to introduce our speaker, Oliver Buechse. Mr. Buechse is a strategy innovator and digital disruption thought leader in the state of Wisconsin. After successful career stops at McKinsey, Union Bank, and Associated Bank, he founded My Strategy Source to help companies enhance their strategy capabilities, and he co-founded Advancing AI Wisconsin to foster awareness and dialogue about digital disruption in the fine state of Wisconsin. He is also the creative mind behind mymazuma.com, the first online marketplace for financial education, which he sponsored as a part of his board role with Wisconsin Bankers Foundation. He is Director Emeritus of the New North and a founding member of FIN, the Forum for Innovation, to drive increased entrepreneurship with focus on scalable business growth in Northeast Wisconsin. He was born and raised and educated in Germany with a PhD focus in economic psychology. And we are delighted to have Oliver. He just finished a course last night in our MBA program at St. Norbert College, Ways of Disruption in the Schneider School of Business and Economics. He lives in De Pere with his wife and 3 sons. Please welcome Oliver Buechse.
Thank you, Brian. Is the mic on? You can hear me okay? All right. So we don't have much time, so I'm going to rush through this. I'm a fast speaker naturally, but I'm going to accelerate it a little bit more for you. I think I'm going to stay maybe on the other side here. All right. So waves of disruption are underway. We may not all be aware. We just talked about it. We have different degrees of awareness. My goal is to raise your level of awareness of what's happening with disruptive technology, but also indicate to you that there are some pathways and some tools that you can utilize to navigate that wave. So my sandcastle analogy, whatever it is that we do, we try to get good at it. Somebody figured out how to make this amazing sandcastle. And we want to get better over time, so maybe it was the same individual or maybe it was somebody else who built an even better sandcastle. I have no idea how they do that, but it is amazing, right? So we all build our little sandcastles, which is a problem if this is coming our way, right? I had my sandcastle moment in 2016. I thought I was pretty good at strategy and helping companies find their path. And then I learned about artificial intelligence, and I had a sort of, oh my goodness moment. I was not really prepared to incorporate this technological change in my strategic thinking. So I had to retrain myself, I had to re-educate myself. And you know, most of us probably know the bottom layers of these waves. Mobile devices, social media, we're just catching up with our kids. But the professor of Stanford University said in 2016, the age of mobile and social is over. The age of AI has begun. And that was like, wait a minute, nobody told us in Wisconsin, and it became the starting point of my learning journey. Bain estimates that by the end of the 2020s, so a decade away, automation may eliminate 20 to 25% of our jobs. That is massive. This is a massive wave, not a little trickle. The World Economic Forum also says the speed of change has no precedent. It has never occurred at this rate. As a reminder, Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, so there were different eras, and each era had its unique characteristic, right? Mechanization through power generation, it had some side effects: urbanization, entrepreneurial wealth, era of European dominance, pollution. Industry 2.0, mass production, side effects, management techniques, a new dimension of war and post-war prosperity. US prominence, so that's when the US rose to power. Industry 3.0, automation and motion control through IT. Digitization of work, disruption of power structures in industry, the rise of Asia. We are now in Industry 4.0, connected intelligence, transition into the cognitive realm. And we don't know yet what the side effects will be. So what does this mean for you as leaders? There could be really good news embedded in this. This is a prediction of the productivity gains through automation over the next, from 2015 to 2030. Manufacturing has a 55% potential. I'm talking to a lot of leaders who say, I cannot grow anymore because I can't find people. I can't hire the talent that is needed to continue to grow or even to operate my business. This could help us solve some of our talent shortages and talent challenges. However, what if that dynamic doesn't stop? These are displacements of workers per year in eras of disruption. The agriculture to industry, 1900 to 1940, 1.2 million per year. The reabsorption rate at the time was 700,000 per year, so net loss of 500,000 jobs. We had other periods of disruption. Look at the magnitude. The prediction is that 2.5 million jobs per year could be lost through this wave of digital disruption. The question is, how big will the reabsorption rate be? And if it's not material, this is all going to be net loss of jobs. So the initial productivity gain feels good, and then it becomes a curse because it doesn't stop, and more workers will lose their jobs. And that was part of the impetus for Advancing AI Wisconsin. If others are inventing these new technologies, if the reabsorption of tech talent is happening in California and Massachusetts, and all the loss of opportunity is happening here in the Midwest, then we will be the digital Rust Belt. We'll be a Rust Belt once again, and we've worked hard to get out of that. So we have to get up and do something about it. So we have to get ready. If that wave is coming, this is what it looks like in California, not literally, right? But it feels like that. You talk to people, and they're investing billions of dollars into new ventures addressing artificial intelligence. Everybody is trying to find a way to get into the game. My final challenge in the class last night was to all the students articulate an entrepreneurial opportunity related to digital disruption, and they did an amazing job at that. We need more of that. So we founded Advancing AI Wisconsin as a platform to bring awareness and dialogue on this topic to Wisconsin. We're addressing individuals, businesses, educators. We've presented to the assembly. So if you want to learn more, please go to advancingaiwisconsin.com. We're also incorporating right now into a 501c3, so we're becoming a real organization. These are frequent questions regarding digital disruption. Maybe some of you have these questions on your mind right now. How do I get started? What's the big deal with AI? How am I going to explain this to my employees? Am I too small? Does this maybe not matter to me? Right? There's lots and lots of questions, and So where do we get started, right? How do we navigate through all of that? We don't want to just give a presentation about scary technologies, but give you a roadmap. So I've developed a framework that I believe can help with that. I call it the POP framework, how to pop the question on digital disruption. And POP stands for posture, opportunity, and preparation. And normally I start at the top, but recognizing where we are here today, I'm going to start with preparation. So there is no single path through this framework. It depends on what your starting point is. If you are largely unaware, you have to first understand the opportunity. If you've gained a sense of the opportunity, you can articulate your posture. Eventually, you have to prepare yourself for that. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means. So, starting with preparation. You as leaders have to prepare yourselves. You have to understand what these technologies are. If you as a leadership team don't have the language to talk about this because half the words that are being used don't mean anything to you, that's not a good starting point. So a base level of understanding of these technologies is necessary, but more importantly, an understanding of the implications, an understanding of how you want to position yourselves as a leadership team. And then you're going to have to prepare your employees, your workforce, maybe even your customers. What if financial lending decisions are going to be made by an AI? Are your customers ready for that? Are they willing to accept that? Or do you position yourself on the other spectrum to say, whenever you deal with us, you're going to be dealing with a human. There will be a market for that as well. Think about the digital transformation education needs. We have the traditional student spectrum, right? Students that have a tech focus or students that don't have a tech focus, but these technology issues are going to bleed into their subjects. This is the traditional arena of higher education. But we're now going to have a workforce, part of the workforce that wants to reskill. They want to get ahead of the game to learn the skills that they're going to need in this digital economy. And then we're going to have members of the workforce that will be displaced, right? So who's going to take on that reskilling challenge? What will be the role of you as corporate leaders, as education leaders? How are we going to get our arms around that? And then on the far side, we have the education of you. Who's going to do that, right? We're trying to contribute to that, but 20 minutes is not going to solve the problem. This is sort of, I'm just showing you the appetizer tray. You don't even get to taste it, right? I'm just running it by you real quickly here. So some of the challenges, members of the workforce seeking to upgrade their knowledge. We can't send them all back to college for 4 years, not even for 2 years, maybe not even for 1 year. There are new forms of learning that are emerging, MOOCs, massive open online courses, certification classes where you just take micro skills and you get certified in those, they call them nano degrees, right? Members of the workforce being pushed into new career tracks. Let's say you're going to lay somebody off and you're retraining 5 people. Well, maybe you should just retrain them before you lay them off, even though you will lay them off so that they have a better chance of finding a job, right? So we have to really develop new paradigms, and for you, again, where will you begin your educational journey? There's a book called Robot Proof, Higher Education in the Age of AI, and Professor Aoun from Northeastern University, he has this philosophy of humanics, and he says, we all need to have 3 literacies tomorrow, in the world of tomorrow. Data literacy, so we understand how does data organize, how do you access it, how do you analyze it. You don't have to be able to program AI, but basically understand the value of data, what you can do with it. Technology literacy, how do the machines work? And not all machines are physical machines. He includes in that programs and AI. So we're not afraid of them. But then we have to combine it with human literacy to function as a human, right? And we have to combine these 3 disciplines. So we have to bring the human literacy into our technology training and the data and technology literacy into our other training opportunities. All right, understanding the opportunity. This is going to be very fast-paced, so buckle up. We need to look at value creation opportunities, tech realities, the environment, but let me just show you a few of these appetizers. Where in this value chain does your organization play? Where do you want to play? If you're in physical space and manufacturing, there's going to be a lot of robotic topics that you're going to address. If you're in logistics and distribution, you may talk about the smart supply chain, blockchain and the supply chain. If you're in analytics and cognitive stuff, that's where the self-learning models are going to come in, the true AI, and so it continues. But guess what? If you're a manufacturer, your opportunity might be in a non-manufacturing topic. You could actually rationalize your back office first, because maybe you've already made good progress on the manufacturing side. So we all have to take a step back and say, in which spaces do we anticipate opportunity for ourselves, or in which of those spaces do we anticipate our competitors to make a move and maybe disrupt us, right? So that we don't give them that opportunity. Shiny objects cloud our view. There's so many words, so many technologies buzzing around. I just said advanced robotics, blockchain, AI, and some of you may not know what all of these stand for, right? So that's, again, my call to go on an educational journey. The digitization of everything, what does that mean? We're going to live in a world where almost everything will have a digital representation. If you could see your Google profile, you'd probably faint. They know so much about you, it's absolutely scary. And we are publishing more and more of our, what we do. We post on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and especially our kids. Everything is digital now. Every experience is being digitized. Data is exploding. The blue is the structured data. That's what we traditionally thought of as data. And then there's the unstructured data, videos, images that we post. And you might say, well, that's all data garbage. No, think again. There are programs now that analyze pictures, that access emotions from your posts. The government in India is driving in tax dollars by comparing what people said on their tax return to what they're posting on their social media. And they're sending them notices for payment. The world around us will have sensors. In the environmental sensors, pollution sensors, traffic sensors, sensors will capture a massive amount of data. How are we going to move all of that data around? We don't have the digital infrastructure, especially here in Wisconsin, in northeast Wisconsin, or go further north. What will be the infrastructure for all of that? And then as all of that data is being created, the ability to analyze it is increasing more and more and more. So conclusions that people can draw, predictions of your behavior, and then an outreach to you through your mobile devices. Before you realize that you want something, you get a text message that suggests that you ought to go into the store that you just happened to pass by to buy it, and you're like, wow, how do you know it? When you enter a search into Google today, 9 out of 10 times it finishes your sentence, and it's accurate. It's like, how did you know that? Well, because it analyzes patterns, it recognizes what you've done just 10 seconds earlier. So what is artificial intelligence? It's essentially emulating human behavior. It uses natural language. It perceives sensory input. Your iPhone has so many sensors, it puts a human to shame. It can see, it can listen, it has GPS, which we don't have, and it knows how it's tilting. It's amazing how many sensors are now available. It can learn from experience, and it can execute not just routine, but also non-routine tasks. But it has some advantages. It never tires. It doesn't get bored. And the speed with which it can do all of those things is just mind-blowing, right? So that's where we're going to be at a disadvantage. We tend to underestimate the possibilities. So this is KFC, Taco Bell, Yum Brands, right? The CEO said in 10 years, robots will take over fast food jobs. At first blush, you think, okay, so they're going to hand out burgers, big deal. That's not what it's about. This robot could recognize who you are. They could engage in a conversation with you, right? And 3 months later, I'm at a totally different, say this is KFC, I'm at a totally different KFC, and there's a different robot. And that robot will say, hey, Oliver, good to see you again. How are the kids? Because it recognized last time I was there with the kids. That can create an experience that no human worker could ever create. Maybe the robot will ask me, is it okay if I remember you, right? If you go to McDonald's in the morning, there's a lot of seniors sitting there. Why are they there? Because they find a sense of community. It's not about the bagel or whatever they eat there. It's about meeting with their buddies, right? Don't get fooled. The robots can create a sense of recognition that goes far beyond what we experience today. Augmented reality. You open your engine, you have no idea what you're looking at. You pull out your phone, you look at your engine, you know exactly what you're looking at. The manual says pull out the dipstick. What's the dipstick? Well, let me see. Oh, that's the dipstick. Let me pull it out, right? We can become experts in things that we didn't think we could be experts in. Or we could be connected to an expert who walks us through exactly what it is that we need to do. Shopping, right? Augmented reality can give you an image of what something might look like. We might have one of those mirror on the wall in our bedroom, right? And once we like something, the mirror will actually recognize, you really like this because you're smiling. I can recognize your emotion. Do you want me to order it? It'll be here tomorrow, 12 o'clock. Ding, order, done, right? Whoever brings this mirror is going to disrupt the entire retail value chain. They could even disrupt Amazon, because Amazon sits on the back end of that, right? Drones in insurance. We saw the terrible devastation from the hurricanes, from the flooding. Traditionally, insurance companies had to go in, assess the damage. There was a backlog until all the assessors could, inventory all the damage. Today, they fly over with the drones. The drone takes images. The AI analyzes the damage based on a comparison of a million other damages, calculates the value, transfers the information, cuts a check. After 30 minutes, you're back in business. Your life starts over, as opposed to 6 weeks later. Agriculture, economic and ecological benefits. This technology has little high-resolution cameras on the end of the arms, and they can distinguish between the image of a weed and the image of a plant. And then little robotic arms apply the weed killer only to the weeds, not to everything. Think about how much herbicides and pesticides could not be applied, would not make it into our water resources. So, new technology can be your friend. Are you ready to accept that possibility, or are we still scared? Are we worried that the robots are coming for us? Let me close with posture. So posture is basically, how do you want to play this game? What is your path into this? Here are the whys, right? So you could say, well, I've got to get into this because I don't want to miss the boat. I've got to get on it. You could be responding to increasingly challenging operating realities. My margins are shrinking. Amazon is killing me. Sears is bankrupt. Boston Store is bankrupt. They're all dying. So some people will be forced into this because you have no other choice. You could also say, I want to create a competitive advantage. I don't want to wait until the guys in California tell me or they dictate the business realities. I want to get ahead of that. We have many industries in which we play a leading role. You could foster a culture of innovation. We just talked about Foxconn putting their center here in Titletown Tech Spark. Why don't we try to become a center that is attractive for talent, that our young people stay here and maybe others come to us because we truly embrace it and we tell everyone, back to that one, right? We are friends with the technology in Northeast Wisconsin. And ultimately, you have to define where on the strategic chessboard do you want to play. This is a combination of the pace with which you want to adopt it and the kind of game you're going to play. Are you going to be a maverick? Are you going to figure it out all by yourself? Maybe that's the California game. Maybe that's not inherently the Wisconsin game. Maybe we should build consortia, right? Maybe we should bond together, some form of collaboration. Or we can just wait. We wait until Microsoft or Google or Salesforce or somebody else has the packaged AI solution that we can plug into, and then we do what everybody else does, right? Just like in the cell phone industry, we all have smartphones, but pre-Foxconn, we didn't participate in the cell phone or iPad value chain. Right now we're going to have our little slice of that. What slice will we have of digital disruption if all of us are just waiting for the downstreaming of these possibilities? We're going to need some mavericks. We're going to need some degree of collaboration. So what does that mean for you as leaders? First, how will you expand your horizons of knowledge? If I just ran by you with the appetizer tray, will you track me down? Will you track anyone down? Will you find your entry point? There's great stuff on YouTube. YouTube is so amazing to learn about technologies. There are classes out there, and there may be educational opportunities that you can create in your institutions, within your companies, right? Bring your leadership team together and give them an opportunity to learn this. Learn it collectively, because then you can talk about it collectively. So second, how do you do the same for your leadership team, for your workforce, for your customers? I had a conversation with someone at American Family. They are teaching their workforce about things like robotic process automation. That's amazing. And I said, why are you doing that? Well, because it's a reality that they're going to be confronted with. Some of the jobs will be eliminated, but other jobs will be created. So we don't want them to feel like they are a subject to the technological change. We want them to feel like they are part of the technological change and consider career changes, right? That's really progressive thinking, but if most of us are not on that track, then the few employees in your companies that are there already, they're going to find an employer that is progressive. So you're going to lose your best people because they don't want to work for a company that's not getting it, that's not talking about these topics. When and how will you initiate your journey to navigate disruption? Posture, opportunity, preparation. And what is your why? Can you articulate that why? Can I end with why? Not start with why, but end with why in this presentation. So there's lots and lots of questions. And Brian and Dave, I appreciate the opportunity to confront you with these questions, and I apologize for the frantic pace. But this is a starting point. You asked me earlier, how do you stay up front, in front of all of this? I'm not really in front of all of this. I'm just a few steps ahead of you in my journey, and my journey is continuing. And so I would just encourage all of you, begin your learning journey. Thank you very much. Thank you. How did I do? 25 minutes.
Great.
On schedule, right? Are there any questions? Do we have time for questions?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Are there any estimates on the reabsorption rate? We talked on the slide how there are going to be loss of jobs, but net, what that might look like?
I haven't seen any. And I think the big question is the worldwide distribution of reabsorption, right? So for example, China has launched a national policy on the development of AI. They're throwing all of their national resources at figuring this out, and not just building the programs. They're building factories that can build the chips. They're solving the ecological problems because their environment is totally polluted. They're solving the demographic problems of not having enough young people to take care of the old people, so they're going to leverage robots for that. So they are on an accelerated trajectory that, yeah, what if they create all the tech jobs in China, then that doesn't help us with the reabsorption in the US. Or if what if we allow California and Massachusetts and wherever to have the reabsorption, right? So the point is, Advancing AI Wisconsin is all about changing the relative trajectory of Wisconsin in this game, and that comes down to all of you. If we collectively do something, the reabsorption rate in Wisconsin is going to get better with every action that we take, and that's what matters. Yes?
Actually, I have a question of the group. So just going back to that slide with the magic mirror, just by a quick show of hands, how many think that's out like 10 years in the future? There's no right or wrong answer here. How many think it's 5 years out in the future? How many of you think it's here today?
Amazon released it.
Yep, exactly. So, sorry, Kim Iverson, New IT Alliance. Yeah, this stuff is here today, so this is a very real discussion that Oliver's brought to the table here. And if we're not, if we're not on that leading edge, we're going to be left behind in the Rust Belt, as Oliver stated. And it goes all the way down to, what are we doing not only to re-educate your incumbent workforce, because they are your best workforce, but how do we, go all the way down into the K-12 system as well to prepare that tomorrow's workforce to come in and be prepared. I put it somewhat tongue in cheek, be prepared to work with C3PO in the cube next door to run data analytics for you. Because that is the world our kids are growing up and going to be entering in the workforce.
Other questions? Yes.
Oliver, in your research and your studies, is there a fundamental core belief that us, later generation guys and gals can focus on changing in order to get maybe a little bit further ahead?
Well, I haven't seen it pegged to age, but I just saw some statistics on entrepreneurship, right? We all think that entrepreneurs are young people. The most successful entrepreneurs are actually people our age, right? Because we already have the life experience, we treat this a little bit differently. So why couldn't we also be the most successful adapters? Because go back to this data literacy, technology literacy, and human literacy. We have a bit of a leg up on the human literacy part. So if we're not afraid to leave the data literacy and the technology literacy to our kids and just surrender the field, right? We can catch up. I'm not a technologist, right? I learned through networking. And again, you asked me, you know, how do you do it? Today, I'm sharing what I know. Tomorrow, I may be in a conversation where I learn from someone who knows more than you. That's a great way to go about it.
So it's fear. It's just fear of learning something new.
Fear of learning something new, and we've been sort of conditioned a little bit here that we had the Midwest cushion. I think Kim asked the question, who thinks this is 5 years away? Because historically, it came to us later. So we didn't have to rush into it, but we may not have the time. And I don't want to take the chance, right? If you have a tsunami coming your way, you don't say, maybe it won't be so bad, right? You just get ready. Other questions? Yes?
Kelly Chartre with Faith Technologies. I'm just curious, so you talk a lot about the AI and the technology working in the business. In terms of working on the business and getting the right talent in the door, is there anything that you're seeing with AI or the technology thereof that would help in the recruitment process? I mean, if we're trying to really be great employers within the region and attract talent, how can we use that to our advantage to get the right people?
Yeah, so a couple observations. There's a company in Green Bay called Breakthrough Fuel. Elaine Stevens is their chief data scientist. And she has tried everything to recruit AI talent and really struggling. So now she's grooming her own. She's basically taking her data people and turning them into AI-savvy workers. Another executive had this conversation with their leadership team, and they said, okay, so we're going to go on a digital journey. And as a response, his head of IT basically said, you know, I'm so glad that we're on this journey now, because I was about to leave. I was kind of waiting for this to happen, and I was about to leave to another company. Now I'm recommitting myself. I want to bring the change here. We don't have the pipelines yet. Some good things are happening now with the AI programs down MSOE, Marquette, UW-Madison, but we don't have, we did an analysis of all the colleges in Wisconsin, 73 colleges. 58 of them did not have any classes either featuring AI, blockchain, or IoT in their curriculum. That's a crude analysis. It may not be entirely fair, but I think it speaks to the delay in adoption. And when we ask the educators, why don't you have that? The answer is, well, our boards of companies are not telling us yet that this is a workforce demand, and we are here to supply their workforce demands. Well, by the time they realize it, and if you have a 2-year or 4-year delay, sorry, you're too late, right? We have to do this now. Maybe one more question if there's one. Otherwise, thank you again, and enjoy safe travels home. Thank you.
Oliver, thank you very much for engaging us. You did do it very efficiently, but you did it in a really engaging, thoughtful way. So thank you for bringing this to us. This kind of disruptive conversation is unsettling for me. Some of it is exciting. Like I can imagine an augmented reality for a college president. I could use help like that on an occasion. But the idea of having a robot in the cafeteria monitoring my tater tot intake, channeling my wife would be is a really scary thing. But we want to thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom, your thoughts in this, and challenging us in Wisconsin to do better. And so thank you for popping the question for us. Give him a round of applause, please. We'd like to let you know that if you want a copy of this presentation, Amy Sorensen and Lisa Gray, if I could have the hands go up here, right back here. If you want a copy of this presentation, see them, they can make that available to you. Please join us for our next CEO Breakfast Series on November 14th, right here at Buedemore Country Club. Mayor Tim Hanna and Ms. Karen Nelson from the City of Appleton will present on promoting diversity and inclusion in your strategic planning process. We hope to see you here for that wonderful program. Have a great day and enjoy this beautiful fall day. Thank you.